Well, we will get started, everybody. Welcome to How to Rock the Virtual Stage. My name is Rich Bontrager, more commonly known as Trigger, as people have affectionately called me. A little background. I've been a Converge pastor, church planter, both in Minnesota and in Iowa, as Chris was just referencing a minute ago. I have been in Spirit Lake. I've been in New Hampton. I love Pine Lake. So all you Iowa folks, recognize some names. Great to reconnect. I was in Minnesota for 30 years, 25 of which heavily involved with Converge North up here, and we blended the two universities together. It was a wonderful thing to be a part of. I planted Journey Church in Rochester, Minnesota. We had a 10-year run reaching college young adults in a very high engaging way, some of the best ministry life. Oasis Church out of Rochester was where I began all my ministry work. And then I've also been in broadcasting all my life. So I always was with a microphone, always with a crowd, and had the best time serving God through the public ministry, but also serving God through broadcasting. They knew me as Trigger, the broadcaster, and Trigger, the pastor. So it's been fun to blend those two together and serve outside the church walls, and with also serving inside the church walls as well. Lately, I have been coaching executives, leaders, churches, schools, everyone on how to rock the virtual stage. We all know COVID has changed the world as we know it. And my passion is to help people do it better. I'm bringing my 30 years of broadcasting and all my presentation years, and I'm bringing them together so people can better do this, because we know how critical, we know how important this is. And the thing I want to stress as we get going is again, you probably all heard this, the gospel message will never change. The gospel is the gospel is the gospel. What will change are the methods and tools for you to relay and share the gospel. And right now, that is so true as we get virtual and as we figure out how to move online, keep the human connection, keep relationships at a high level, and raise the engagement level. We're going to do some engagement here. This will be me doing some coaching here for a while. And then the second half or so, we're going to bring you guys in for open Q&A. We will stop at the top of the hour at noon. If anyone does want to stay a little bit longer, we will keep the conversation going. And also, we will give you my contact information for any resource, any ways I can help you throughout the region. I'm a resource. I would love to help my brothers and sisters in Converge, because I really have a strong affinity and passion to help the kingdom out. So that's just kind of a nutshell of what we're going to be getting into today. And I'm sure this has been a struggle. I've heard of some churches that have just said, yes, this is wonderful. And a lot of churches, leaders, small groups have all really been frustrated with the loss of the engagement, the personal reaction. Hopefully, I'm going to give you some ideas of how to raise that, keep relationship high, and train and equip not just your congregations, but your leaders and your teams, how to do it. I have a daughter right now who's about ready to graduate with a master's degree from Bethel. She is a Christian education. She just got brought onto a church in the Hastings area, and she is learning how to do children's ministry virtually right out of the box. She never had the experience except for her church planting time with dad, but she's learning how to do kids ministry right now in COVID, and she's actually loving what they're doing. So embrace it, fall in love with it, and let's have some fun here today. As we start, I just want to open up with a word of prayer. Will you join me, please, as we get launched here this afternoon? Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to come together. I am so grateful to be able to talk to my brothers and sisters from Converge North, Central, and just the many fun years, the great times I've had, and the service and the kingdom movement and what God has done and continues to do. God, we know these have been tough times. We know this is challenging for so many reasons, from the mental to the emotional to the spiritual to the relationship. So God, today I ask that your Holy Spirit would speak through me, and that we would rise up and find new joy, new passion, new excitement to use the virtual stage to share the gospel message. In Christ's name, amen. So this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to cover a lot of high-level stuff today, but then we're also going to bring it down to your real nuts and bolts. So the chat box is open, and I want you guys to be able to enjoy that. Cameras on if you can. One thing I always tell people is, if you're the leaders, if you are going to show your congregation how to engage, you have to lead this. Executives in the business world, I'm telling them the same thing. They're trying to run their seminars and their business meetings and the cameras are off. It doesn't work. Model to your congregations, to your leaders, to your small groups, cameras on, raise a relationship right away. Microphones will be on later on. It's asking to mute those so we can have a clean recording. This will be a resource that we will be able to pull back out and use hopefully in the future as well. I do 5 E's. I talk about 5 important E's, and we're going to cover the 5 E's today here. And the reason I do the 5 E's is overall, the big E is experience. You want to create an experience, and the other 5 E's, I'm going to break them down to help you create the experience. This is not a small thing called the virtual stage. I want you to really understand that. The virtual stage is ever expanding right now. The virtual stage is going to be the new platform. No matter when we go back to live, full services, this is now a tool that is going wide. Technology is going with us, but technology is not what drives you. Relationship and your presentation, your passion for the gospel, that drives you. So it does not matter what bells, whistle, toys you have bought. This presentation, you on camera, you on stage, and I tell people this is a stage, as much as your Sunday morning platform is, as much as your small groups are, this is a stage. Treat it like a stage, present like it's on stage, and you will have a higher engagement across the board. So this is about experience, and then we're going to break this down. So the 5, real quickly, are going to be engagement, energy, entertainment, education, and the expression is going to be the 5. They all kind of bleed into each other, but let me tell you, we all want to educate. We all want to grow disciples. We want to share the gospel. We want to do the most we can to educate people on the amazing love and grace of Jesus Christ. You cannot get there, especially in this virtual world, without doing the other things I'm going to talk about. You have to do these other things to get to that place, because now you are all broadcasters. Welcome to being broadcasters. Everyone now has become a broadcaster. I got 30 years of broadcast experience. I know how to play to an empty room. I know how to talk and make it engaging. As pastors, this was not something we were trained for. As communicators, as great as we are, this is not something we were trained for. So the first thing is, as we get into the E's here, I want you to relax and open up your mental capacities and say, I'm going to learn, embrace, and try something different, because there's a lot of mental stress. Yesterday, we did a live webinar here in the home office. We're doing part 2 today, all on church planning. Joel Nelson and Glenn Hirschberger got done, and I was show running it. And the first thing they said was, I'm exhausted. We did 1 hour. They put high energy into it, and they got done and say, this takes a lot to play to an empty room. I wonder how many of us are feeling that this is taking different energy out of us than we never thought we would ever do. So how do we get there? Let's talk about the engagement first of all. Engagement, you need to fall in love with the camera. You need to talk to the camera, even if you have a live crowd now. I know many are trying to bring the church family back and smaller crowds, social distancing, but you need to talk to the camera, because your audience at home is bigger right now than even in the live church. So the engagement needs to be front and center. Number 1, I tell pastors and I tell leaders, stand up. We're sitting in our offices, we're doing it from our couches, and there's that casualness, which is good. But believe me and trust me, when people stand up, the engagement and the energy naturally goes up. I've coached well-meaning, great speakers, high-level people that have been on stage for years, and they've said, why does my engagement suffer when I'm on the Zoom call, when I'm on the virtual stage? And I tell them in the middle of my coaching session, stand up and start talking to me again. Just talk to me while we're doing the coaching. Every one of them has literally stopped in the middle of the presentation and said, what just happened? Why do I feel different? And the only thing they did was they got out of their chair, they stood up, and now their body is engaged. Their energy is engaged. You are now back into full communication, because 70% of what we say, pastors, leaders, 70% of all you say is nonverbal communication. People do not just want your head. They want to see how you're behaving, what's coming across, what drives you, how do you engage with people again, and it will raise the engagement. Because now as broadcasters, we've all watched movies, we've all watched TV shows, and if the engagement is not exciting, what do? We grab the clicker, we click it off, we go to a different channel, and we give up within the first 3 to 10 minutes. Studies show that over and by the first commercial break, which is now about 7 to 8 minutes in, people have given up on the show. We all know the studies. The average church goer in the first 3 minutes stepping into a new church will decide in the first 3 minutes, am I coming back? And you have not even had the chance to speak or share or do very much. The same thing applies now to the virtual stage. We now have to raise engagement, which means we have to get up and bring all the tools we have and get involved. Now, there's ways of doing this, and I'm going to demonstrate one right now. I'm going to open up a poll here. Polls are a great resource, especially for small groups, life groups, your leadership trainings. I encourage you to use the polls and the tools. They're right in the Zoom box right there. Preset some questions and launch them. So I've got one for you right now. I want you all to cast your vote. How confident are you on the virtual stage? Do you feel like a geek, a fish out of water? Are you a rock star? Are you like 50-50? Like, I get it, I have to do it, but I'm not sold on this thing yet. Do you want to grow your skills? Are you like, I know I need help, I want to do better, help me out?
Yeah, but I'm always OCD about that.
You want to help? Do you want actual coaching?
All right.
You want, someone just dropped their mic on. If you could drop that mic and cut that, please. So here is the poll. You guys cast your vote. Everyone cast your vote, please. I want to see where you're at on this whole comfort with the virtual stage, because this is so important that we need to figure out how to engage it, how to own it, and celebrate it. It's a learning curve. Think back 8 months ago, most of us never even would have thought about doing a worship service on Zoom. I was on a call the other day. We were celebrating a gentleman's 60th birthday, high executives, and I'm on this big virtual thing. And we all said, let's sing him happy birthday. Do you know how much of a train wreck that was? I have 100 people on a virtual Zoom box in different time zones, literally around the world, the lag, the communication. We all know there's limitations to what you can and can't do. And it's frustrating to get comfortable with that type of situation. So now we have to figure out how to engage. These polls are one way to get people involved. They're one way to get them actually clicking, participating, and not just stagnant. You also have the chat box. So today, everyone here, if you would, use the chat box, open it up here today, drop in, say hello. Where are you at? What city? What church? Give us something as you engage here today with me to show you're in the game. Because we want to stay going forward doing this. This is not going to be the only time we probably do this at Converge North. We want to have North Central really rocking virtually. We want to equip you, empower you. So I want to know who you are so I can stay in touch with you, so the main office can stay in touch with you, and how do we best do that. Use these in your churches, use these in your life groups, and figure out how to leverage every resource of engagement you have. So I just ran the poll. I would recommend, if you run polls, the best thing to do with the engagement is tease the curiosity. Don't just dump it right back in. Move on to another teaching point, because right now you are broadcasters, and TV every 7 minutes has a commercial. Every 8 minutes has a commercial. People are used to changing the dial. We live in a soundbite culture. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok are having us communicate in shorter characters in 1 to 1.5 minutes. As communicators, we need to figure out how to engage this new world. And this virtual stage is only driving that faster and harder. So I encourage you to use these as you're turning the dial. You're making something different happen, and it keeps that energy going. So it is like every 7 to 8 minutes, go to a breakout room, which is a great engagement tool. We're going to talk about that. But these polls are wonderful to use as a commercial break. Many of you are trying to use the whiteboard on Zoom. It's a great tool. The biggest downside about the whiteboard is you have to pop out, come back in. It's kind of clunky. There are tools, and we are going to give you a resource at the end. Stay to the very end. We're going to give you a free resource. This is the first step of what I'm creating to help people out. And it's going to be a virtual setup in a box, easy links to go get, so you can raise that engagement and learn these things. So start preparing to figure out how to do this. But use these things as commercials. Use these things when you go to the whiteboard. That's considered a commercial. If you're going to share a PowerPoint, That's commercial. And by the way, you are now the main primary communicator, not your PowerPoint. There's a lot of people that are doing 60 slides. When we were preparing for our show yesterday with the church planners, Joel Nelson had over 130 slides. When he called me, we began preparing for this 2 months ago. I said, Joel, you need to cut those at least in half, if not more. He got it down to about half, and he was like still focused on the PowerPoint. We cut it down again to half within that, so they could speak, they could present, and the slides reinforce you. Pastors, continue to be the voice, continue to be the engager. Don't count on the slides and do it. So please learn how to continue to do that. Thank you guys for dropping in. Thanks everybody for saying hi. And so I'm going to share the results here. This is where Converge North Central is at. Just so you know where your brothers and sisters, your fellow ministers are at, how we're doing, it's about a 50-50 is leading the tribe here on you're like partly in, partly getting it. There's a struggle there. Some are growing the skills, a little bit behind are growing the skills there. And then you see how some help is needed and you feel kind of like a geek. That's natural. And for those who don't want to grow the skills and those that are kind of the fish out of water, let me just give you a quick bonus here. Back to you, tighten up, and force you to kind of slow down. Instead, admit it, talk about it, make a joke about it, and just go that way. And the reason I say that is I've lived with a lifelong stutter myself. I make my living as a pastor speaking and as a broadcast speaker. The running joke is the guy who stutters is going to teach you how to present and be on stage better. I laugh at myself every time I stutter, every time my tongue gets tied. We all know about Moses. He may have had a stutter. If God can use me, if God can use Moses, God can use our blunders and relax and have fun with it. It's also part of the engagement. It's part of being authentic. You can show and teach. You guys are all still figuring this out. Our church is moving forward. And oops, that didn't go as planned. Come back tomorrow. We'll try it again. So that's a little bit of the engagement side of things. So please continue to work on that. Now, energy is one of those things that you need to keep energy up. You're playing to an empty room. And I have seen so many different pastors, leaders. And again, the sit down is part of it, but it's not just a sit down, is how creative an imagination do you have that you are playing to a full room now? I have a great imagination. I love Walt Disney. I've always had that imagination. I believe there's a room always in front of me. There's not a camera, there's a crowd. There's not a camera, there's a person. If you're struggling with the energy, put a picture of your congregation on the other side. Put a picture of your family on the other side. Do something that you are talking to a person that you love. They have a great smile on. If you need that cartoony feel because you feel like this is kind of silly, put a picture of Donald Duck up there. Put something up there that's going to make you smile, have fun, and your energy will go up because now you are playing to people. I actually worked with a gentleman who said, I took all my kids' toys from Pixar and put them on the other side of the camera when I first began this. They were talking to Buzz Lightyear, but they were having fun because it was this kid's toys, and he's thinking how much fun he has with his kids, and his energy went up because now he's literally talking to toys. And imagine what happens in the room. What can you do to raise your energy? The other thing is many of us on Sunday mornings have always had that ritual of prayer, meditation, going over a message. Some of us like to do something to get amped up to make sure we're ready to go because we know the message of Jesus Christ is so important. We want to come out and go, yes, welcome. There's no crowd to do that right now, or a very limited crowd. I have found music is the biggest thing that lights me up to get me going. Before I got on today, grabbed my iPhone, played a couple of my favorite songs. I got jacked up. I'm all excited because this is important. What are the things that help you get energized? What are the things that will help you literally get on? And we all know the best feelings I had when I was planning Journey. We grew up to be 2 services. We had so many interactive things. The best days of my ministry was when I went home turned on the football game, and I fell asleep and said, I am spent. I am done. And it felt good to know I gave it all to the people, to God. The fuse is burning out quicker now virtually. You cannot go as long anymore. So you need to have the higher energy to do this. And again, also, let me go back to the engagement side for a second. Long meetings do not work anymore. Board meetings, trustees meetings, long meetings do not work. Less is more. It keeps you energized. It keeps them refreshed. You're not going to burn them out. Zoom fatigue is a real thing. People are getting bombarded and burnt out. So you want to do this in nuggets. Think of it as TV episodes. Do one episode, do another episode. You will stay energized. They will stay energized. Your engagement and energy will be, I love doing this. This is the best hour, hour and a half that we could ever put together for our church. So figure out how to balance those two between engagement and energy. Entertainment. I know in the church, this has been a hard one for a lot of people. I'm not here to entertain. I'm here to teach about Jesus, about forgiveness, about love. Storytelling is way more important now, even on the virtual stage, than it is even in the live community. And I know many of you, because I've been in conferences, retreats, we talk a lot about storytelling. We have sat around and discussed how to weave it, how to bring the narrative alive, how to bring the scriptures alive in a way that it's no longer black and white dots. It's literally the burning bush experience. And we want to storytell in a way that goes from then to now to application. And you need to do this entertaining. Props are a great thing. Many of us have used props on stage. Bring your props onto camera. Find a way to do that. If you're leading a life group, here's a great way to do your Bible studies. And this is working in the corporate world really well right now. To keep people engaged, we are tactile. We want to touch. We want to embrace. We want to hug. So bring an advanced starter kit. Put some toys, put some little gimmicks in there. So as you're doing things, it's entertaining. So if someone gives a good answer, if someone has a prayer need, what kind of toy item can you give them for their life group? And they have this kit. And for that week, they might be the prayer warrior person. They're going to be the people that's going to take care of your community in small group fashion. Have them reach in the box and say, hey, you get the prayer warrior award for the week. Thank you very much. Now you're breaking the glass. You're also having a good laugh because last week someone else had it. Find ways to do things where they can touch, sense, feel, be entertained, and have a good time. The other way to do this is bring a guest star in, bring a co-host in, have a testimonial. Literally have someone give a testimony in the Zoom box. Introduce somebody. Steve's had a really amazing life, an amazing journey. It's a commercial. It's entertainment in some ways. It's heartfelt. You step off as the host, bring them on for a little while, and let them give their testimony virtually. Again, now you're doing the engagement. Now you're bringing fresh energy in. Now you're bringing the entertainment value because they changed the dial and it's fresh and exciting. And people love testimonies. We love hearing about the power of Jesus Christ, what he's done, and for real people. And we know very often as pastors, they expect it from us. The best people we can have to actually grow our churches are people that are on fire, that have had God do something amazing. Bring these people into your Zoom events. People start bringing others in, and don't just have it be just you or your team. Mix it up because that will add that entertainment side. And with kids ministry, my daughter, again, with kids ministry, they are creating pre-production skits. They're going out on the road. They're going on the back of the church, and they're literally filming episodes with different staff members of their children's church ministry. And you have one person do story time, pre-canned. You have one certain person that's going to do the song for the day, and they do the motions. You're bringing the entertainment in, and the kids are riveted for it because they're already watching YouTube. They're already playing all these games online. By the way, there's games you can use now. There's a couple resources that if you are interested, contact me. But there's games online that will feed into your YouTube feed. You can spin the dial. You can do like Scrabble and different things. You can add this in creative ways to bring it alive. And especially for kids ministry, they are loving the engagement this way. It's different for us. But again, The gospel will never change, but the tools we use must always be adapted. And this is probably what we want to help you with. Now, we're going to get to expression. Expression is look like you're having fun. This is the hardest one for a lot of us because this looks and sounds boring. Smile, laugh, but the expression of I am fully alive. I had a great week. People are getting zoomed out. People are going meeting after meeting for personal, for family, for work. If you show the expression that I love being here with you, I deeply care about you, and if you show that heart, the compassion, sincerity that you have as a pastor, as a leader, as a youth leader for your students, if you show with expression, I'm giving you a virtual hug. I'm giving you a virtual fist bump. What can you do to show people that you really, really deeply care? Because we all know we are hurting. Studies are showing suicide is up, depression is skyrocketing. Just everything is so out of whack right now because we're virtual, we're remote, we're isolated, we're removed. Every 4th of July, Christmas, Thanksgiving, people are told stay home, isolate. What can you do to express and show them I'm still with you, I still care about you, you're the most important people in my life, and bring expression of empathy and support. Do prayer retreats online. Do things that really show the expression of Christ and the full love of Christ in a way that will bring people in and keep coming back. And that just takes practice. Again, that just takes practice with getting. This is no longer a camera to me. It doesn't even exist. I am just here with you in a room full of people that we care about, and I'm going to do this at the highest level, and people will feed and get that radiance, that glow, the energy from you as you express. Now, when it goes to expression, here's some camera tips because this is broadcasting. We are used to a lot of time walking around. Now, I can do a full stage. I can do a full keynote, full presentation. I'm doing a wireless mic pack. I encourage you, pastors, present that way again. Get back to using your stage and express to people. You are now on camera, so there's a camera frame. So your expression can still be big, but you have to also know how to keep it in camera frame because it looks kind of silly when your hands disappear. Expression. Do not go toward the camera like that. It looks like you're going to smack somebody. People do not want to feel threatened by your hand coming into the camera frame. But you can express excitement. You can go forward with small gestures. It's how you're going to express on this stage and now use it differently than before. Learn by practicing. Open up private Zoom boxes and practice in your office, in your sanctuary, wherever you do these things. Practice in an arena where you can just cut and paste, delete. No one ever sees you, but get used to doing this like you normally would every Sunday, every event, every time you get together. Also, express community and love. Have potlucks online. Have socials online. Have birthdays online. Whatever you need to do to show that expression of love and it's alive, bringing life back into your community this way. Now, education is the final one. Like I said, if I really believe if we don't do those other things first, if we don't spend time on those things, the education will always suffer for it. You have to now do these things, I believe, so that now people will listen and be engaged with the Bible studies. Listen to the life group questions. They will be asking you more and more through this as you do these things better. Sunday morning worship will be just as alive in a whole new way if you do these things. And then they'll listen to your messages. You can go 30 to 40 minutes with a great message once again. I know a lot of people have curtailed it back because they don't have the energy, they just don't have the desire, they don't think there's the engagement. You can't read the crowd like you used to. I understand with the Zoom boxes, we just can't do it. But if you do these things, you will get better education. You will get better results. Discipleship will grow. And one of the biggest things with this is on Sunday morning now, turn your church into an active small group. Do your worship, do your teaching, And on the spot, while you have them on live, go to a breakout room. Have your deacons, your elders, your former Sunday school leaders be a host of a room and have preset questions that they get in advance, and go to a breakout room and say, you know what? This has been a great, you set the agenda, you got things going. Let's take 10 minutes now. You guys go to your breakout rooms, talk this around a little bit. What do you think? How did Jesus walking on water and the transformation, whatever it is, how did these things today affect you? Now you've done big, you've done the entertainment, you've done the engagement. Now you're going small and you're getting community now to educate each other, which is the goal. Iron sharpens iron. You now get people in the moment that are in community that may have not seen each other for a while, and they're right off of what you just educated, what you were just teaching. You now have engagement, and everything you just did, they're going to do in the small group setting. Turn Sundays into multi-layered engagements that way. Youth ministries, do the same thing with your youth students. Find someone that can handle and facilitate a breakout room after you've done your discussion. My college roommate has been doing church ministry for years. And he loves youth ministry. He actually took on a senior role for a while. He said, I miss the kids. I miss doing that. He has been doing this for almost 30 years now, and he is creating exactly what I'm describing. How can we do big, exciting engagement? How can we take it small and keep the personal education, the personal discipleship working, and do the both and? And he is loving what they're getting. The other thing with all this is record all of your stuff. Build a library that your church can use as a resource. When we were doing this today, the chats do not get recorded, but if you want to save the chat box, the 3 dots on the right-hand side, you can save them to your desktop. You will have everyone's email. You will have all the comments, unless they're private. You can save that. And again, as teachers, as facilitators, when you have a prayer request in there and you ask for people for prayer requests, dump that in, and you have prayer requests by name, by email. You have all the content right there. What a great tool. You don't have to chase anybody. You don't have to ask anybody. You get it in real time with everybody. So I'm going to open up a second poll here. I want to ask everybody here, what's your biggest need virtually right now? When you think about the E's, when you think about where you're at and what you're doing, is it sound? Is it lighting? Is it these presentation skills? Is this one of those things that just seems so strange? Is it the broadcast skills I'm talking about? You're now broadcasters. There's audio, there's video, there's so many things that come in, or that whole idea of the TV clock and how you roll and create a show. The engagement skills. Is it a struggle with your church leaders right now? The buy-in factor. How can we get more buy-in and more involvement? And is it the entertainment question that's just as hard for you right now? What are some of the things? I'm going to launch the poll again. And I want you guys to take a moment and look at this and take a moment, because the other thing I'm going to talk about that is, it's the 6th unofficial E that I put in here. And it's one that I love to talk about, and that's the environment. What environment are you creating, leaders, pastors, teachers, that will give people the opportunity to come into the throne room, to experience everything you want them to experience? What environment are you creating? Now, I use virtual most of the time for everything I do. I also have spent time learning how to not have my hands phase out and disappear. I'm going to give you a couple quick little tips here, because I know many of you are doing virtual stages. You want it to look uniform across your ministries, so your teams look good and sharp. Many of us are doing this in our living room. Many of us are doing this in our basements, in our backyards, which is great. But if you want to have a uniform presentation, because it raises the confidence that our church is lockstep together, they're unified together, therefore our people feel more unified together, this now becomes your new area. So when this first started, I had a lesser color green backdrop. I kind of had a lime green. It was a thinner fabric. It didn't hold, and I did phase in and out. It was better than having nothing. If you're using just a digital camera, with the Zoom digital only, you do not have a green screen. You will always phase out. You cannot get around it. I call it digital to digital. You will always phase out of that. But if you add a real physical green screen, the light now absorbs it. The camera picks up the texture differently, and you will have a stage that you can move and be confident in. Now, if you're wearing green and you have a green screen, you will disappear like a ghost on camera. So you have to know your clothing now, your attire is very important. I have a green screen on today. I've intentionally done the lighter blue. The blue hue helps make me not have that silhouette. Get a darker, richer color, have an accent, and you won't have that ghost. Especially if you have hair. I don't have that problem. But if you have hair, you always see that matted look. You always know it's there because white is the worst. Do not use white. You will always have the outline. You will always have the glow around the arms. Use something a little bit darker and richer. Use the green screen because when you present this way, when you present and you know you're not going to have those little oopses, and you're in your environment, just like we love our environments of our churches. We love because we know what we're doing, how we're going to do it. When you build an environment, you now step up with confidence and you just do what God's called you to do. We've all had it happen. We've all been on Zoom calls when people have said, wow, that's bad. Also with environment, you want to talk to the camera, have it eye level. Talk to the camera, not to the Zoom box. Don't have your monitor over here and something over here. Put your camera dead center and talk to that. For your environment, have somebody else show run it for you so you can focus on being here. Most of our churches have had tech teams. Convert your tech teams into someone to help you out. If you don't have a tech team for smaller churches, here's a golden secret for you. For creating your environment, for making this good, get a young student that lives on their iPad or cell phone, turn them into your tech, and they will eat it up. And they will tell you things that you never knew. They will help you find gadgets you never knew to create this environment. They know how to do this. And they now become a part of the ministry. They are now working and serving with the Lord and working with you. And you will see new leaders emerge in a new way because they are actively participating. Again, it's really easy to do. Also with the environment, the camera is really important. So I'm going to do this just to make it simple. Do not have your camera doing this. Like we've all seen Zoom calls. Do not have the camera do this where it's just looking like a disaster area. Lighting, which again, I will give you a resource here at the end of the day. Do not have lighting where you have that two-face, dark one side, light one side. You're creating that environment. You're making it easy to engage. You need to be seen, heard, sensed, felt, and that's where the environment comes into all of this. So I hope this has been helpful to kind of super fly over some of this. Now, here's where you guys are all at. Here is where the poll is showing us right now. We have people, it's the broadcast skills. And this is universally across the board, everybody. In every industry I'm working with, from educators in schools, we know our education in schools are suffering drastically. This is the number one reason it is suffering drastically. They don't know how to be broadcasters and communicators in this area. They were never trained for it. CEOs, executive, small businesses, they have no idea how to be a broadcaster on camera. Here in our own Converge North Central, this is the number one area. I'm a resource. Converge North Central is going to be a resource. We're going to do more things, but it's going to be, if you need it, we will help you. We will do this. The other thing is, if you have a local news person in your church, someone who's a local anchor, take them out to lunch, social distance, and ask them, how do you read a teleprompter and not look like an idiot? How you do green screen and feel confident on green screen? How you do this whole thing, it looks so natural for you because they've been trained and equipped to do it. You have a free resource in most of your communities right there. And if you can't get one, please reach out. But then we also see the presentation skills. We also need the engagement skills. So it's really across the board, but all of them funnel into, we are now on camera. We are all now broadcasters, and we are all trying to figure out how to do this together. I also know there are several churches that are knocking us out of the ballpark. I want to say thank you. And I want to encourage you to be the pioneers that help our other churches. Do not just take care of yourself. Do not just think this is a time only for us. Many of you have resources. Many of you have extra cameras. You have the abilities. You know you have the abilities. This is where Converge North Central can go and be better together. Get together on Zoom calls. I led lead groups. The lead groups were so important to get pastors together and sharing. I cannot tell you how important lead groups are right now. If you don't have one, create one. Get 5 or 6 pastors in your region. Get on a call. What are you doing? What's working with you? What's not working? What's the biggest train wreck you've had? Share these things and then resource together, because you are going to be the best solution. You know the context of your people. You know the needs of the people, and allows you to, again, build relationship, be real with one another. And I believe God's going to use it and bless us as we do this better together. No one has all the solutions. I just want to make that very clear right now. No one has all the solutions with this. And technology is now your friend, but it is not the main tool. You can get by with less technology if you do the things I was talking about today. But if you want to enhance it, you want to grow, technology is part of the puzzle piece. You don't have to spend a bloody fortune. There's a lot of things that we can do in that resource that we will be passing on. Mandy will be sending out to everyone here today. Everyone today will be getting that resource. And it's a starter kit. And again, you'll have my contact information in there. If you want to get on a Zoom call, follow up, we will help you build out more and more and more. Also, technology in the next 6 months, just so you know this, technology is going to rapidly change virtually right now. What you do today will probably not be what you do in 6 months. The hybrid will also be here. And think about this as I'm about ready to open it up for everyone to ask a question. Many of us have wondered for years and years, how do we reach into the shut-ins? How do we reach into the people that could never come to our church on a regular basis? They're already immune deficient. They already have just, they can't make it up and down the steps. Think of everything we're learning right now and how we can now leverage this for the future forever, that no one is ever left behind in our churches, because we now have a better tool to do higher education, higher engagement, higher love, higher service, because we now have figured this out better. No one can ever be left behind. We have now grown a new ministry tool that 8 months ago, many of us were afraid to do. 8 months ago, no one would have thought this would have been something we would be playing in. Celebrate the yays. Let your congregation know this is bigger than what we think it is. This has amazing reach and potential for the gospel of Jesus Christ. But as pastors, as leaders, we have to learn new skills. We have to continue to educate one another, our churches, be the champions of this. And I believe this will be a big, big move of the kingdom of God. It's global. It's 24/7, and it can be done anywhere. I am on the road here in Minnesota. I currently live in Washington, D.C. I did my own show last night live here, and it looked like I was in my exact same studio. Exact same vibe, nothing changed but my location. That confidence is a powerful thing for our people to know, regardless of where you're at, no matter what the circumstances is, the church is still the church. Jesus is still on the throne. God still reigns, and they need that message more than anything else. And the more confident we can bring it, I believe the more our people are going to embrace everything. So with that, I'm going to open this up. If you have questions, I would love you to unmute yourself. Brief introduction, because we are all spread all over this region. Make sure you just say, hey, who you are, what church you're from, and what's your question. And let's have a little bit of fun here to make this very practical for everybody. What are the questions you have? What are the needs you have? What are the things maybe that you have found that actually are working, that you can actually say, hey, we tried this. That didn't work, but this did. Let's do this community. I've never been in a room with pastors that are this quiet. You should have the ability to unmute. Chris, are you unmuted?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
All right, go for it, Chris.
Talk a little bit, Chris Rigg, Prairie Lakes, Iowa. Rich, talk a little bit about your feelings about live and pre-recording and the benefits of both of those philosophies.
Great question. I'm doing both, and there's benefits of both. I do as much live as I can because I want the live audience. I want it to be in real time that they can feel the excitement, the passion. Recorded does take a little bit of extra. We talked about the energy. There's something with that recorded. You know the light is on. You know your room. And it's not always the same. It has to require more of you. However, if you do everything live as much as you can, the other thing is record everything like I said. You can chop it up into bite-sized segments and repurpose it. So you have the ability to grab the live audience, and then you can condense it down on the backside and say, you want a streamed down version? Chop, chop, chop. Give them a condensed version and offer the same material in a new, fresh way. Now, the other thing about doing recorded is you can edit, you can pause, you can add transitions, you can add labels. There's things you can do on the backside. So yesterday we were doing the church planner event. We had a TV monitor up here, and we had to change the font size because they made it for a room presentation, not for Zoom presentation. We had to blow all the fonts up. Now, in post-production, we can take all those slides, and when Joel was talking about something, when they were discussing it, you can literally bring it full frame and make it a full image, easy for people to do. Again, that's part TV technique. That's part engagement. That's part turning that dial like a commercial break, and it changes up what you're hearing and seeing. So there are benefits of doing that. And again, that's what I was talking, Chris, about saving, recording, everything you do. This is new content. This is material that can be invaluable, not just now, but in the future. Archive these things and just learn how to create a database, a resource center that people can go back to. Does that help, Chris? Thanks. Who else has got a question here? See, the chat box was dropping in.
I've got a question, Rich.
Yeah, please.
We've never done any recording. We just do Zoom and just do it live. But from the technical background, do you need a lot of storage space to store those videos?
So there's two ways of doing that, Steve. So one of them is you can record to the Zoom cloud. Now, are you guys paying for it, or are you just doing the free base, or are you now paying for a full subscription?
I think we've got it. No, we're not on the free one, but we don't have the best one either.
So no, but you may not have the best, but you do have a certain amount of storage space.
Okay.
So what I recommend is the easy way to do is automatically set it to record automatically to the cloud. So that way you never have a gaffe. You don't forget to hit the click record. It automatically goes up there. After everything's done, there's a way to transfer that data down to your hard drive, to your desktop. You can have a offsite disk to save it to, and then you start banking that, and then you have it. So I would recommend first cloud. That way, no matter what's happening, whoever is running the board for you, it's always there. And then just pull them off, keep that clean so you don't overdo it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great question. What else we got? What are your biggest frustrations? What are your biggest fears? What are the biggest things that are challenging you as a congregation right now?
Let me jump in here. We've got a congregation that really tilts heavily toward the older generation. And I'm wondering if there are some hints or tips about engaging them, helping them not get afraid of this, providing some technology maybe for them, helping them get hooked up to the internet even.
That's really good. So here's what education can do for the church now. You can literally do a webinar training and say, we're going to do tonight's not Bible study. We want to actually help you how to get on a Zoom box, feel comfortable, and literally talk them through. You can either record it, send it out in an email with a YouTube link, and just say, hit this, and here's where you go. Here's how you turn on your camera. Here's how you mute your microphone, and give them the basic 101s so they can engage better. Because they aren't technological. This is a whole new thing. Also with that, Remind people continually to update their software. Zoom has put new security protocols in. It really affected people for a while. People were Zoom bombing events and coming in, and it was very rude. A lot of socially unacceptable things happened, but they put a lot of protections now in. But when that happened, a lot of people could not get in because they did not update the software. As churches, remind your people. Every time you see a Zoom update, send it out to your people and say, remember the Zoom update. Do it this week so we can get you in our Bible study, get you in. But that would be a great way to do it. Create some content, record it, send it out through a Zoom or through a YouTube link, and you can coach them up. And then if they want one-on-one, you actually can go in and create a live box, send them the link, be waiting for them, and you can talk to them one-on-one, very personal, and just answer their questions. That's shepherding. That's loving on them. That's taking stress away, taking fear away. Everything that you can do, you are now ministering to them. Even though it's technology, I believe you're ministering to the people to helping them get the best they can. That make sense, Steve?
Yeah, it does. But I think we've got some people that aren't even ready for those steps.
Okay.
So how do we even get them engaged to begin with?
I think a lot of it still goes back to that whole thing of you guys have to show how confident and comfortable you are. You have to demonstrate that we really believe in this. And that's where maybe the testimonials come in. Have someone say, hey, you know what? We were in a life group. We were doing this virtually. And my gosh, the prayer or the amazing interaction that we had and show that there's power in this. And it's not just a small box. That's the thing I want to stress. This is not a small box. This is big. And if you can give some of those stories of how powerful it is, what God's doing through this, you may get more people to buy in and be willing to go through then those coaching stuff because they don't want to miss out. Remember, Sunday morning has always been, don't miss out. Be here, join us, don't miss out. How can we now bring that here and say, don't miss out? This is just as important for you. So maybe try some of those things. Great question. What other questions do we have here today? Is there anyone doing virtual like backdrop really well? Does anyone have any tips on what you've learned? Because I know some are doing the physical sets, which are great, but some are doing completely virtual. Does anyone have any experiences to help the group on what you've learned that works in your context? I see Dan's face popped up. Dan, do you have something? It might be muted. Okay. Can't get on, it looks like, but your face popped up for a second. Let me just read one of the comments here. One of the big issues in our churches in Wisconsin is that the camera is way too far off. Yes. Attempt to get the entire stage or worship team means everyone is too small. We need to fill the camera stage with a person. Okay. Depth and relationship to camera. Again, this is TV. And this is where there's some of the things you can and can't get away with. TV, as you notice, if you really study TV, it is waist to head. They rarely do full body shots. Movies do it more than TV. This is a true technique because you want to feel like you're present with the actors. What you may want to do is have multiple cameras, stage them, and then you get a switcher. And I have a tool that I can recommend, but then you literally begin to do switchers so you have a stronger relationship camera. Maybe put more of your singers together. I know on stage we're used to filling the stage and spreading them out. Think how Johnny Carson used to do with the band, all packed together on one side. It may be a big shift for you to do that, but again, now you're showing the band. You can do some close-up angles, and you kind of have the band pit instead of the band stage. And then you can have the main speaker camera, whoever is the host, things like that. That might be some of the ways to do it. You can also get handy cams that are made for YouTube and stuff, and you literally, again, get some teenagers, get some people to literally do handy cams. So you have their main stationary, and then you can every so often switch to a handy cam where someone's up front, and it turns the whole thing into much more engaging. But that distance, yeah, people don't want to see little mini, small little people. They want to see the engagement and feel the engagement. So figure out how you can play with that more. How's the guy from Canada who has produced short videos will help the basics in production? Wow. So Ken, if you have resources, I would definitely encourage you to let Converge North Central, let the churches here know that you may have resources like that. This is education. This is all new. And so this is where we want to resource, we want to educate. So if you have that, please let it be known. What other questions? Is there anyone else who's got one today?
I've got another one. You had that survey thing pop up. How do you do those?
So within Zoom, there is a survey. You do it on the pre-launch side. So when you're building your date, your time, whatever it is, there is a feature down below that you can build a poll, and you can name them, label them. I usually just put poll 1. There's a box for the question, and then you put up to 10 different options of what you want. And then when I go live, I'll have that already preset on my screen, but you will not see it. There's a launch button where I launch the questionnaire. Then after that, I bring it back and I hit it for a while. So you pull it back. Then there's a third button that you relaunch the poll. Everyone can now see again. And then the fourth toggle is you make it disappear.
Okay.
And again, those are great engagements.
Thank you.
Yeah. Those are the questions that we want to make sure you guys understand how to use. There's also branding techniques you can do. So again, like when you get a webinar, before you guys came on today, I simply used this and I just stepped off camera. So when you came on, this was waiting for you today. Simple things that show that you're show ready, that you're branded ready. These help people. Thanks, Ken, for dropping that in there.
I'll give you a suggestion over there in Wisconsin. If you put up a big Minnesota Vikings banner in the back, that might get some attention.
I'm curious, has anyone done a baptism virtual? Has anyone had the celebration of baptism virtually? Think about how you could do that. Think of the celebration. Think of, because people are shut down, they're missing that. Think how you maybe do a baptism virtually. And again, raise up that God is moving, God is doing. Be creative right now. Throw things out that you've never done before. Give permission with your teams to really think outside of the box and be creative. What can we do that we've never done before, but because we're on TV, because this is now the way we're communicating the faith, the hope, the love, the power of Christ. What can you do? There are no wrong answers. You have freedom to do everything that you want to do. Empower people to do that. How about communion? Yes, communion virtually. I know of churches that have done communion virtually, and they have done it well. Again, that's that pre-launch kit I talked about. Send it out in advance. Have someone and send it to each of them. Send cookies out just to love on people. You have people in your church that have hospitality. They're not using hospitality right now. Get people to say, we're going to do a whole cookie party. Have a couple of people that love to bake and cook and do a cookie party and have a Friday night hangout and just do community like you would do at your churches, but use these people like that. Do communion the same way. Send it out and do virtual communion because many people want to still be served. They want to have that experience, and you can still do the. Think what you can do visually with that. I had a group of guys that I grew up in high school. We did a virtual bonfire. We did bonfires growing up. That was something we did. Bontraggers and friends. We literally did a virtual bonfire. I had a fire pit going. We pulled out high school pictures and we shared high school pictures. Very engaging, very emotional, great stories. What can you do with an experiential Christmas virtually? What can you do in experiential communion? Think about an image of Christ or of community as you do it. Start playing with these things and you will get people to see, again, I don't want to miss this. This is really important. And they will feel they're back in with their brothers and sisters. I hope this has been helpful to everybody. Again, if anyone has any questions, rich@richbontrager.net is an easy way to get a hold of me. You will all be getting that little one sheet that I've created. This is a starter pack because things are changing. These are the tools I'm literally using right now in my own studio. I also encourage you as a church, think long term. Can you build a studio? Can you do something that will forever have, so your youth can use it, so your small groups can use it, so you have a training center virtually? What can you do to set this up? Because with COVID and everything else going in, this is now going to be a long-term ministry tool that if you invest in that, you're investing in the future. No matter whatever happens again, the church will always be prepared. And that's why you're going to get a resource to help you do that. But if you have questions, reach out to North Central, reach out to Joel, to Mandy, to Wick, whoever you want to best communicate with. Reach out to me directly. If you want to do some more one-on-one, please, I would love to get on a Zoom call and talk to you about your very specific needs and share the things. Thank you guys for all taking the time to be here. Thank you everyone for this. Let me just wrap up in prayer, because I know this is a fire hose. I know for a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff. So let me just close with a word of prayer and wrap up our time today. Heavenly Father, thank you for this. Thank you that we get to actually use technology in a new and exciting way, that throughout Iowa, Minnesota, this region is not far apart. They are not separated. They are, in fact, still strong and vibrant and unified together. God, I encourage, I pray that your spirit would descend upon each of these pastors, their churches, and they would continue to see that there's amazing, great things that can be done virtually. That you can go through the camera lens, you can still speak powerfully through them, through their churches, through their small groups. There is no limit to what you and your spirit can do if we are willing to be used, be servants, and try something new. In Christ's name, amen.